is an intern working on an embalming for her final supervised procedure. She takes care of every little detail with meticulousness, and by the time she's done, the body looks like new. Her mentor Raymond praises her work while noticing the thin scars on her wrist, which she quickly covers with a glove. Rebecca then makes a cut in the body and starts extracting all the blood. Raymond notices the dead person's toes twitching, but he doesn't mention it. She fills the body with embalming fluid to finish the process, and Raymond confirms she's passed. Afterward, Rebecca puts the body away. On her way back, the lights flicker and she freezes in confusion, only to keep moving as if nothing happened. After cleaning her prep room, she has to go to the basement for supplies. However, it's very dark down there and she hesitates to move. Suddenly she's startled by something moving in the shadows, but it's just Raymond. He tells her to never go to the basement and to take supplies from the closet instead. After Rebecca walks away, Raymond looks back to check on the creature running around the basement and locks the door. In the office, Raymond wants to make a toast to celebrate her promotion to full-time employee, but she says she doesn't drink. Now that she doesn't need him anymore, she'll be in charge of all the embalming and he'll concentrate on the business end of things. Rebecca will get the day shift and Raymond will handle any night emergencies. She tries to say that she doesn't mind working nights, but Raymond angrily turns her down. At that moment, Rebecca gets a headache, so Raymond tells her to rest during the weekend. After Rebecca leaves, Raymond returns to the basement and mentions that it's happening again. At home, Rebecca drops the keys on the table before going to the bedroom to change. When she comes out, she's shocked to notice that the keys are missing, but she doesn't see the strange symbol on her notebook. Thankfully, she finds the keys on another table, so she can leave for her weekly support meeting. She tells the crowd that today is her 1 year of sobriety and shares how hard it's been to deal with all the shame and pain related to addiction. She thanks everyone for their support, and her sponsor Kelly tells her to be proud. On her way back to her seat, Rebecca sees a creepy man in the back whispering her name. After the meeting, Rebecca sits in her car while dealing with her dark urges. She drives to a dark corner and almost talks to a dealer to buy something, but she gathers her strength and takes off before she gives in. As she drives away, Raymond calls her to ask her to come to the mortuary. He apologizes for the change of plans, but he got a sudden transfer from the city morgue with several bodies. Minutes later, Rebecca arrives at the mortuary and reads the notes to learn that the bodies must be both embalmed and cremated. It doesn't make sense, but she must follow orders. After putting on some upbeat music, she starts working on the first body, talking to it while noticing the fresh wounds. Once the embalming is ready, Rebecca turns off the music and takes care of the paperwork. She doesn't see the body moving its head and opening its eyes or the symbol that has appeared on the file. Once the data is in the system, she puts the body in the incinerator. When Rebecca looks out the window, she's shocked to find the door of her car open. She rushes outside to close it, which leaves the lights on. Afterward, she goes to the closet to look for supplies, only to start feeling dizzy. She rubs her head as she hears voices whispering around her. When she finally snaps out of it, she finds herself sitting at the table with no memory of how she got there. At that moment, the phone rings, so she rushes to pick it up without noticing the symbol that has appeared on another file. The caller is Raymond, who wants to know how Rebecca is doing. She tells him that the storm is causing trouble with the lights, but everything else is fine. After hanging up, Raymond goes back to painting on his body. Meanwhile, Rebecca starts moving the second body but stops when the power goes out. She doesn't see the body moving its head and hand on the stretcher. Since her phone is almost out of battery, she goes to the office to look for candles. In a drawer, she finds a small box with a candle drawn on its lid, but inside there are only paper strips. After lighting a strip up, she returns to the body and notices that a hand moved, so she puts it back in place. She doesn't see the symbol glowing on the wall behind her or the body moving under the sheet. It smiles and reveals it has white eyes. Once that body is in the incinerator, Rebecca brings out a third one, which has severe cuts and bruises. When Rebecca hears a noise, she leaves to check the office. The body opens its eyes and moves its head while the symbol appears on another paper. In the office, Rebecca sees a strange figure moving and assumes it's Raymond. However, the figure disappears when she blinks, so she assumes it was her imagination. When Rebecca returns to the prep room, she's shocked to find the body gone. Then the phone rings again and she picks it up, only to hear a voice saying, "You did this to me, it's all your fault." A terrified Rebecca hangs up, yet the phone keeps ringing, so she walks away from it as she touches her face. She freaks out when she finds blood on her hand and immediately takes off her coat to cover the injury, but when she looks again, her hand is clean. Since the phone keeps ringing, Rebecca picks it up once more. The same voice says he wants to report a missing person, making Rebecca realize it's her father, Ben. He mentions that her 14-year-old daughter Rebecca has disappeared, and she remembers the day she passed out near the lake after hanging out with some friends and consuming too much. Since the police had wanted him to wait 24 hours for a report, Ben went out to look for her himself. That was the night he died, and Rebecca still feels guilty for it. After having a vision of a strange creature, she passes out. In the morning, Rebecca is shocked to wake up in her bed. She looks at herself in the mirror before she hears someone pounding on her door. As she leaves the bathroom, the mirror folds up and the message "Let me in" appears. Rebecca opens the door to find Kelly, who scolds her for relapsing. It seems Rebecca doesn't remember coming home or calling her for help. She swears she didn't consume anything, but Kelly doesn't believe her, causing her to have a breakdown. When Kelly hugs her to comfort her, Rebecca starts holding her too tightly. Kelly pushes her off and is horrified to see that Rebecca's eyes have turned yellow, so she tries to run away. Rebecca captures her and throws her around the kitchen before biting Kelly's finger off. Then she throws Kelly on the floor and stabs her in the ear with a bottle opener, twisting it a few times to kill her. Afterward, Rebecca snaps out of it and is horrified by what she did. She washes the blood off before calling Raymond, who immediately sends her back to the mortuary. When she tries to say no, Raymond explains that he knows what she's going through, so he'll explain at the office. While Rebecca freaks out because Raymond knew all along and did nothing, Kelly stands up and removes the bottle opener from her ear. Rebecca sees her and immediately runs away, only to find the real Kelly at the door. It seems the entire incident had been a hallucination. Ignoring Kelly's concern, Rebecca gets in her car and drives back to the mortuary. Raymond explains that demons or entities often inhabit dead bodies until they can find a living person strong enough to be possessed. It seems a demon has chosen Rebecca, and now it's using all her dark secrets and sad memories to weaken her until she submits. Raymond has been learning about this for years, so he tries to teach Rebecca as much as he can in minutes. He shows her a tray with some symbols, explaining that they must be used to form the demon's name. Rebecca must find out her entity's name and burn the corresponding mark to banish it to hell. Before Raymond can finish, the demon takes over Rebecca's body and insults him before throwing him over the table. She grabs a fire poker and tries to come closer, but Raymond opens his shirt to reveal his tattoo of a protective symbol. Then he runs out of the office and locks the door right before the demon could catch him. When Rebecca returns to normal, she begs Raymond to open the door, but he apologizes and leaves. While the entity appears in the prep room, Rebecca runs around searching for an open door or window to no avail. She also tries the phone, but it isn't working. Rebecca decides to read Raymond's notes, only to get distracted by her grandmother appearing outside the window. The old lady sweetly asks her to let her in because it's cold, but she suddenly gets aggressive and pounds on the window as she calls Rebecca a disappointment. Her voice gets deeper and soon becomes a growl. When Rebecca turns around, she's shocked to see Ben with bleeding wounds on his face. He says he's brought her a scalpel so she can self-delete again and they can be together. After the scalpel cuts Ben's hand, he tackles Rebecca and stabs her multiple times in the leg while her grandmother keeps screaming. Suddenly Rebecca snaps out of it and realizes this is another hallucination. She almost self-deleted again, so she drops the scalpel in horror. Then Ben reappears in the corridor and says she'll die as he comes closer, so Rebecca hides in the next room and locks the door. While Rebecca keeps hearing whispers from multiple voices announcing her death, Raymond tries calling the mortuary to no avail. Afterward, Rebecca looks through the window and notices Ben is gone. She also discovers that the missing body is back. She decides to sneak back into the prep room and grab some things to start stitching her wound. At that moment, the body sits up, only to lie down again when Rebecca looks up. Once she's done with the stitches, she hears a voice telling her to cut. She grabs a scalpel and approaches the body, which wakes up again and starts fighting her for the scalpel. After some struggle, Rebecca reaches for the fire poker and manages to stab the body in the neck, but the demon is strong and easily pulls it out. Rebecca grabs some wire and ties it around the body while it laughs with the demon's voice. Then Rebecca finally picks up the phone and Raymond finishes teaching her what to do. Following his instructions, Rebecca pours her blood on the possessed body before pushing it into the incinerator. Unfortunately, it doesn't work and the incinerator blows up, sending Rebecca flying. A flashback shows a teenage Rebecca strapped to a hospital stretcher. The young girl suddenly changes into her adult self and Rebecca wakes up to discover she's inside the incinerator. She freaks out and repeats that this isn't real until she's back in the room. Afterward, Rebecca calls Raymond and tells him it didn't work. However, Raymond reveals he hasn't talked to her, which means it had been a demon trick. Raymond tells her to search for some tapes downstairs, but his voice transforms when his instructions change into torture. The entity watches from behind a door while Rebecca hears the demon's voice asking her to save her father. Rebecca goes to the basement, where she finds a locked door and a small room with the tapes. She's startled by something moving, but it's just a falling box. More things start falling off the shelves, so Rebecca rushes back to the office. When she plays the tape, she finally gets the instructions she needs from Raymond. She must burn a strip to find the right symbols and choose them on the tray, which must be put on the body housing the demon before incinerating it. The blood of the possessed must also be injected into the body to bind it to the mark, otherwise the entity will escape before burning. This blood can also be saved for later use, so this won't happen again. As a demonstration, Raymond cuts the arm of a possessed body called Valerie, who keeps crying for mercy from inside a coffin. After looking at Raymond's notes one last time, Rebecca lights up a paper slip and wanders around the room until she finds a symbol on the wall. She puts the same mark on the tray before continuing to look for the others. Soon Ben appears again and distracts her with sweet words before grabbing her neck to start choking her. When Ben asks her to let him in and laughs like a demon, Rebecca manages to snap out of it. Next, she unlocks the mysterious mysterious door in the basement, where she finds a hole in the wall that lets her look at Raymond dealing with Valerie. She keeps begging for help, but Raymond says she isn't Valerie anymore. When Rebecca looks away, she finds herself inside a coffin, so she pounds on the lid until she comes out. When she lights up another strip, she finds the second symbol. As she returns upstairs, the entity watches her from the shadows. After getting the third symbol from the supply closet, Rebecca finds the last one in the bathroom. Suddenly the door locks itself and the room starts filling up with water. Desperate, Rebecca tries to climb onto the toilet, but she slips and smacks her head on the sink, so she passes out. Another flashback shows Ben finding a young Rebecca near the lake. He yells for help, but nobody comes, so he tells her to wait while he goes looking for a doctor. Unfortunately, Ben slips and hits his head on a rock, which kills him. In the present, Rebecca wakes up and the bathroom is back to normal. In the office, she puts the 4 symbols on the tray and the center glows. She also keeps hearing a voice, so she follows it until she finds Valerie inside a coffin in the basement. Rebecca almost helps her, but then she remembers her mission and grabs a bottle of Valerie's blood before leaving. Next, Rebecca checks all the bodies in the mortuary until she finds one with the symbols on its chest. She takes it to the prep room and it immediately starts moving, but it calms down when Rebecca puts the tray on its chest. Then she stabs it with the embalming stick to inject it with Valerie's blood, ignoring it when it asks if this is the correct body. Soon the demon's name appears on its forehead, confirming she chose right. Rebecca pushes the body into the incinerator, where it squirms and screams as it's burned down for good. Afterward, Rebecca returns to the basement, but the entity is still there. Ben appears behind her and says it'll never be over before pushing her down the stairs. Rebecca passes out as she lands and the entity approaches her while another flashback begins. It's revealed that Ben saw the demon in the forest and he was so startled that he fell. When the young Rebecca woke up, her father was already dead. In the present, Rebecca wakes up and apologizes to her father since her addiction caused his death. Ben asks her to stop blaming herself because he doesn't want her to forever remember him with pain. As Rebecca finally agrees to let go, she wakes up for real. It's a beautiful day outside and there's no blood on her clothes, but she can still hear Valerie. Rebecca returns to the basement and opens the coffin to free Valerie, who has some terrible wounds on her back. Suddenly Valerie calls her stupid with the demon's voice and throws her on the floor. When Valerie is about to kill her, Raymond arrives and recites a prayer as he shows her his tattoo. Valerie is pushed back into the coffin and Raymond locks her up again. Later in the office, Raymond apologizes to Rebecca for letting her confront the demon alone. He explains that it isn't Valerie anymore, so he keeps her locked up in the basement to regularly get her blood since it's the only thing that can prevent future possessions. In fact, he lost other employees before he managed to perfect his method. Rebecca thinks it's cruel and tries to quit, so Raymond points out that it saves lives. He also reveals she'll never truly be free from this experience, but if she stays, he can teach her to be stronger. Refusing to accept such a life, Rebecca